All right, guys, this is in response to Rick, who posted in the Sam Goulden Clubhouse. He was asking about wrist angles. He said he just reread the Sam Goulden, the Square to Square Swing, and in the Square to Square Swing ebook, I say that the wrists don't hinge at all in the swing. You basically you preset the impact alignment and you rotate your body to hit the ball. So I want to clear something up because there's a lot of talk about wrist conditions. It's like the new buzzword on tour coaching, and everybody who's teaching golf is talking about wrist conditions. I want you guys to be clear on something. Your wrist conditions aren't the thing that you should be really looking at. The thing you should be looking at is the club face and what it's doing. So if you had a really strong grip and the club face looked like that, that's a perfectly square to path club face, but your left wrist would be extremely cupped there. Versus if you had a really weak grip and had a square club face to path, you'd have a bowed left wrist. So talking about the wrist conditions without regards to the club face is kind of like, it just doesn't make any sense. You really need to be looking at the club face. If you've established your grip, your wrist conditions are secondary to the club face. And in reality, you don't even have to look at the wrist. You can just look at the club face. If the club face is square, your wrists are whatever they need to be. There is no wrist condition absolute on the PGA Tour. There's just solid impact, and solid impact comes from a consistent face-to-path ratio and a forward low point. But I am going to get into this because there is one way that your wrists can flex that can be fine and possibly beneficial. And in this swing, it's okay to have this one extra little lever in the swing. So first we need to establish that the wrist can work in multitude of ways. You have these two bones in your forearm that can roll. So you can have that rolling happening. We definitely are doing that, as I'm sure you're aware, in the square to square swing. You also have this vertical wrist movement, which is something you might use to like hammer something. If you weren't going to move your arm a lot, you could hammer something with that vertical wrist condition. We're not doing that either because in the golf swing there's no need to lift and put the club back down. We can just establish it and rotate. So the rolling and the vertical stuff we're not doing. There's just absolutely no need for it. You can look at guys like Bryson DeChambeau, Steve Stricker, just plenty of guys that don't have any vertical wrist hinge or any manipulated roll in their golf swing. And really, if anything, they're manipulating to get rid of the roll. But there is one sort of lever or hinging movement that you can make that is okay, and it's something that you can experiment with, although I don't think you should unless you're consistently breaking 80 every time you play, because it does add a variability to your radius or your swing arc. If you haven't seen the tour radius video on YouTube, check that out. It's a really solid one. Maybe I'll put it in the comment here in the clubhouse. But the thing that you could do without affecting the angle of the club face relative to the arc is you could have your right wrist go into extension, which is the term that just basically means your right wrist bends back. So your right wrist could bend back. And when your right wrist bends back, you just have to be aware that we're not bending back and rolling the club face at the same time. So when your right wrist bends back, you just want to make sure that you can see that it's still looking the same way that it was. Like if we're on this horizontal plane, the face should still look around a horizontal plane. It shouldn't look up at the sky now. So in a golf swing, your right wrist bending, let's say we preset the impact position and then we go back and we want to add a little bit of that right wrist flexion or right wrist extension, it would look like that. And this would be extreme, and you'd have to let that right wrist unhinge through impact. Otherwise, it'd be almost impossible to hit the golf ball. But it can, I've said this before. Now, again, this is for somebody who's a very low single digit and needs a little bit more pop out of their clubs. I've said this before. It can be like the square to square swing on steroids. Is basically what that can be. And I can make a whole nother video about how to make that work. But for right now, the things you need to know, that the wrist, and to answer your question, Rick, the wrist can roll this way without my elbow's fixed, right? My wrist can roll, my wrist can vertically hinge, and it can horizontally hinge. We're saying it's okay to horizontally hinge. It is not okay, or there's no need to or no reason to, vertically hinge or roll those bones in the arm. So I hope that clears that up. Again, the square to square on steroids, it's maybe something you might want to experiment with, but I would be really cautious about it. It is only for those who have mastered the square to square swing. It is only for you guys who are just striping it every time, and you've got a predictable curve and you've got forward divots. It's like putting a nitrous oxide into my 79 BMW. Like, it would just blow the engine, right? If it's not perfect, putting steroids into something that's not stable is a bad idea. So don't add a lever to something until you've got the stability to add it. Yeah, also lastly, how about having a surf video in the background instead of just like a dreary old golf course, right? So anyway, oh, one more thing. I got an amazing sort of golf-centric massage today. Awesome woman here in Manhattan Beach, and I'm going to be, if you guys are interested, maybe comment. Let me know if you'd be interested in hearing what she thinks golfers should do to warm up before a round. Because I've told you before, I've got everything you should do to calibrate, to get ready, to get your mind and your body to sort of unify and calibrate on your intention. But she's got a program to get your body really loose and really warm to make sure that you're not going to have any injuries. And she said it takes less than 10 minutes. So I think this is really cool. If you guys are interested in hearing about it, I'd love to share it with you. Let me know in the comments if you want to see that video, and I'll get her to kind of work with me on it, and I'll send a video, or I'll post a video about it. But that's it. Thanks for watching. Once again, love you guys in the clubhouse. Thanks for asking your questions. Thanks for commenting on other people's questions. I think this is an awesome interactive group, and it can only help us all to be more interactive. So yeah, have a great day.